करते हैं और मेरा ख्याल मेरे नाल इस समय मेयर पैट्रिक ब्राउन जुड़ चुके ने सो मेयर वेलकम टू द शो एंड गुड मॉर्निंग टू यू
Well, Jagdish, I wanted to call in as soon as I heard you were talking about the justice reform because it's very dear to my heart, and I want to thank you for drawing attention to it. We desperately need bail reform and stronger sentences in Canada, so we're very, very happy to hear that you are starting that conversation today.
First of all, thank you so much that you wrote that letter to you bring this issue to attention of the federal and provincial level of the governments and to all our local representatives. So all these local representatives in the 2018, they went to the police board and talked the same thing that what you're talking in your letter. I still remember at that time, chiefs were to these member parliaments, then go back to your parliament and do talk in the parliament and bring a legislation to be tough on crime. But nothing happened. After that, after 2 years, I just see your letter now, and at least you brought that issue up again. What do you think? What kind of reform it will bring?
Well, I hope that the tragedy that we had recently is not in vain, that it'll become a catalyst for change. There's been a lot of talk about sympathies, but we don't need sympathies. We need change. That's how we honor this victim. That's how we show that to her family that we're going to do better. What happened recently was unbelievable. It was the individual had breached his release 4 times. The police had arrested this guy 4 times, and every time he got out, this was someone with a history of domestic assault, who had a possession of an illegal firearm. This was avoidable, and unfortunately, we let our system, our revolving door justice system, let this young lady down. A dangerous offender should be behind bars. There is no excuse why someone can repeatedly be released. The Crown Attorney's Office, they did their job. They said this person was going to be a risk to the public. The police did their job, but our justice system was an absolute failure in our inability to keep a dangerous offender behind bars. And this is a young lady with a bright future, and it was robbed.
Like you have mentioned some data in your letter that 31 murders were done, out of them, but 13 were from domestic violence.
And the highest number we've actually ever seen in Peel region, and the domestic violence numbers are rising not just in Peel, but across Canada. And I think one of the reasons is right now with domestic violence, you get a slap on the wrist. And it can't just be a slap on the wrist. We need to have real teeth to the sentencing that's related to domestic violence. If someone is abusing their intimate partner, throw them behind bars. You know, like this has become an epidemic. Like it needs to be addressed.
Like it's shocking. 10,818 phone calls and only 3,107 were charged.
But Jagdish, what do you expect when you just get a slap on the wrist? Like there needs to be real consequences for domestic violence, and I want our system of justice to finally take it seriously. Like when is our country going to wake up to the fact that this behavior is repugnant, and our system needs to hold these individuals accountable?
So after this letter, did all these representatives, they did talk to you, especially these are local representatives, member of parliament, did they talk to you that yes, we got to do something about it?
We haven't had a response yet, and I can tell you what's a little frustrating is 6 months ago, myself and Chief Nish were part of a meeting in Toronto with all the other mayors and the chiefs of police, and we actually wrote the federal government at the time for bail reform. That's 6 months ago. And so this is not the first letter. I brought this up again after the recent tragedy because it was a reminder of how urgently this reform is needed. But unfortunately, this has fallen on deaf ears. And so I'm going to continue to lobby the Prime Minister, lobby the Justice Minister to say that this desperately needs to be changed. And on a provincial level, you know, our Public Safety Minister needs to know that the ankle bracelet, the GPS monitoring devices are inadequate. Because there's a surveillance, but if someone breaches their release, there's no follow-up. And so you have a case where someone, they said, okay, he's got a monitoring device, but if you have a monitoring device and it's based on an honor system that they'll call you if they're breaching their release, it's not going to work. You can't have an honor system with criminals. You can't have an honor system with people that have a record of reckless, dangerous criminal behavior.
Mayor, on this, I'm with you to be tough on the crimes and your recommendation in this letter. Plus, that another question was raised in today's Canadian Punjabi Post editorial that beside this, when Izzat Chaudhry was killed by the police officers, after that police officer refused to share his notes and interview with SIU. Do you think it's fair that SIU can complete their investigations if the main police officers is not cooperating with them? That's where we also need to raise a voice that yes, if police chief is saying yes, our justice system is failing, what about this our policing here?
So a few weeks ago, myself and Mayor Bonnie Crombie wrote an op-ed in the Toronto Star asking for reform to our SIU system, which is a provincial agency, and we made a number of recommendations of how we felt SIU could work better, and we're going to continue to
I'm sorry I overlooked that, and I will definitely look into it, and I will write about it on Monday's paper. Good. And I will go through it. Yeah, go ahead, please.
Okay, well, thank you, Jagdish, because I'm going to continue to push for SIU reform, but I think in policing in Ontario, what we really need is right now, the funding is only available for about 10% of the police calls to have a mental health support worker. I believe that any time there's a mental health issue, there needs to be a mental health worker available. Not 10%, 100%. And right now, 90% of the mental health calls don't have a mental health worker available. And so we have to do better. We need proper mental health supports. Right now it's being relegated to sending police officers, and frankly, that's not their training. We need to have mental health workers available for a situation when there's a clear mental health call.
All right. Mayor, thank you so much for sparing some time. I'm running out of time now, and we will discuss about this issue later on. I will go through your letter of recommendations for SIU, and definitely we need to discuss that as well. Thank you so much for today's time.
Thank you so much. Okay. Thank you.